Hello, and welcome to Moving Forward, the show where we examine the TNT music industry, looking at the past and present to forge a better future. I'm Robin Foster, and I host this show with Mario Russell, or DJ Mario of Downtown Outlaws. Today, we talk to Colin Lucas. He is a musician, arranger, producer, band leader, and corporate manager. Colin, welcome to Moving Forward.
Hi, good evening.
All right. And as usual in this show, Mario, you open the innings. You open the bowling. Go through.
Yeah, okay, Colin. I'd like to get a little bit about your history, like how early you started in the game. I mean, I remember you as early as when you used to move around with your dad, but you could give us a little history so people could know how long you're out here. And Sound Rev to me was like the first band as a little fella, I remember, in the Cavallo days. Yeah.
You hear me throw that in, right, Rob?
Yeah. Of course, I will give you my first memories of Sound Rev too, but you fix up Mario first.
Yeah.
All right, but it might surprise you to know that Sound Rev had a precursor band, called Iraq. A-R-A-C. Andre, Richard, Arturo Charles. Andre Day, Richard Ramsubag, Arturo Macano, and Charles Assam. They had this band called Iraq, and was in the area where I lived. And they invited me, because Andre and Charles were friends of mine. So I ended up, gigging with them and so on. And then they decided, hey, what about if we make a bigger band? And Sound Revolution was born out of that thought. And not only out of the thought, but with the assistance of a gentleman called Don Bihari, who was a businessman in the area. And he assisted, and I mean assisted, really put his money where his mouth was. And, Sound Revolution was born in 1976.
Yeah, 1976.
1976.
Right.
Which means I was about 5 years old. Huh?
Oh gosh. All right. Now, my first memories of Song Revolution was when I had a graduation from QRC in 1977. Song Revolution played in the QRC hall in my graduation. That was the first time I'd ever hear about Song Revolution, and the band come and they get on. And then I was told that in that time, Song Revolution started in UE by chance?
No, it wasn't. I happened to have attended UE in Mona. Right? And then when I'd come back permanently, that's when they decided, well, let's step up from a combo, which was about, 4 or 5 man band, and they wanted to make it a little bigger. Tony Woodruff, one of the earlier members, he was in St. Augustine at the time, so maybe that is where that connection was established.
Right, because there was this whole thing about there were 2 bands that started in UE, Song Revolution in the Trinidad UE and Third World in Mona and all that kind of thing. All right.
I actually knew the Third World guys in Mona, and I told them, this is no joke. I went to a concert with them. That's before they were big, and this concert was in Taylor Hall. And I listened to this band, and I went to Catcore after their performance and told them, I said, guys, trust me, you're going to be an international music force. Take my word for it. Incidentally, I also made that prediction for Freddie McGregor. I was in a band with Freddie McGregor in Jamaica called Generation Gap. Freddie was the lead singer and drummer. And I told him early o'clock, I said, Freddie, you will be an international star. Bam. I was right on both counts.
All right. Good boy. Mario?
Well, he's setting up himself for some serious questions here, because the first question will come to mind is, if these fellas become stars and you were so popular in Trinidad, why you didn't become an international star too, like these fellas?
Well, I think there are 2 simple answers. One, I'm not in their class of talent. And 2, music was and has remained my hobby, whereas it was, their profession. Music was my hobby.
Wow, okay. Well, yeah, that was a question I had for you too. I wanted to know that, someone like you, I consider you like, a great songwriter. I mean, people in Trinidad, we tend to look at things that not talking about politics or talking about some kind of social thing, right? As not serious. In other words, I find Dollar Wine is a brilliant song, right? The story and thing of the song, it could be
Thank you.
right? No, and many of the songs you did, like that rewind, fast forward, eject and thing. I love them songs. I mean, they're genuinely funny, and you could tell it had like thought and something that went into the writing.
Well, I always felt that you should write a song that makes sense, even if it's a party song.
That's correct.
Because there's nothing to say that because something makes sense, you can't dance it. I mean, if you go back in time and think about songs like Bills, Bills every day, Bills, Bills, my cappy, talking about the cost of living, but everybody whining down in the party, black is white.
Right.
So make a song make sense. Let there be some theme that your subconscious mind can hold on to, so that even when the appeal, the pure appeal of rhythm disappears, there's a thread of something that keeps your mind engaged to the song. There are a few silly songs that really last very long. They come out, they might have instant appeal and everybody likes them and thing, but a few months down the road, gone, because there's nothing else. There's not what I call residual value, that you can always go back to. So I always try to write songs that make sense.
Okay. Well, and another thing too is being a sound engineer and being around in those days. Song Revolution was one of the bands that always had a nice big sound, and I realized how you would come outside, and your brother was the sound engineer, God rest his soul, right?
Yeah.
Right, and you would come out and and make sure everything sounding good, and everybody said, say, boy, you hear Sound Rev, boy, I remember them days well, so all that meticulation, that's a word.
It is now.
Right. All of that. I was thinking that maybe you all would have like really pushed to go far and international and thing. Why that you don't think that happened?
Well, like I said, it was always my hobby. Now, there were guys in Sound Revolution that made it their way of life, their livelihood. And in fact, down at the end, no, that wasn't the end. It was, you may remember that in 1990, there was a separation in Sound Revolution. And essentially, that was the cause of the separation. There were guys who felt, listen, we need to do this full time. And there were other guys that were alternatively employed who did not want to leave their employment and so on. So the full-time guys did just that. And actually, they spent a year or two campaigning out of Canada because it made more economic sense to be based outside there. Because if you're going to get a lot more international gigs, it's cheaper and easier for a promoter to fly out of North America to anywhere else, incidentally, and other places in North America, because a lot of the gig opportunities resided in North America.
Just one quick question. Did they go under the name of Sound Rev at that time?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Did they go under the name of Sound Rev? Song Revolution?
Yes, they did. Although I had the name registered, I had no problem in letting them keep the name and use it. So they went under the name of Sound Revolution for many, many years. And do you know, even after the band eventually broke up, Mose, the drummer, Anthony Lewis, otherwise known as Mose, he formed a band called Mose Revolution.
All right.
And I think, well, not think, I know part of that was to maintain the vibe of what Sound Revolution meant. The whole thing of one body and together we can really do this. And so he made a band called Mo's Revolution, which I think exists even to today.
Okay.
Well, my picture of Song Revolution is always Colin Lucas, so I can't imagine how our next band or guys would come out and use the same Song Revolution name when you were such a prominent figure in the band, and everybody knew you as probably the lead singer or the owner of the band. And if you weren't there, it means you're going to put a question mark on the band. Where Colin? How were the guys? Were they really successful in Canada or not?
Yeah, they did well. And this is the thing. I know for some promoters in the earlies, they kind of had some issues with that. But I think the band acquitted itself well. Also, by 1992, although I was by then a solo performer, Sound Rev and I did a lot of gigs together, so it was really like the good old times again. But apart from me, they acquitted themselves well. The musicians, they maintained a high standard of musicianship and execution, so that even people who might have initially felt, Colin not there, so by the time they heard the band a few times, okay, it was a little different without me. Anybody that's part of a group that is no longer in the group, there will be a difference. But the difference did not mean a reduction in quality of the band.
Well, you had Dollar Wine in 1991, right? Around the same time. So when there was a split, had Dollar Wine had anything to do with that? Because Dollar Wine was a smash hit. And I mean, everybody was Dollar Wining all over the place. Right? I don't think anything could match that any of the guys did could match Dollar Wine. So again, you are the prominent figure in Song Revolution, no matter what. Because when you left the band, you created a monster hit. As for what they did.
I think God sent that to keep me buoyant, because although things worked out in the end and the issues were resolved, the breakup was painful. To be quite honest, it was painful for all parties, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I was really very sad during that transition. Strangely enough, I'll give you a quick story. There was a promoter called Hugh Lloyd out of New York. And one day after the breakup, and the breakup was actually receiving a lot of, if social media existed in that day, I don't know what would have happened. So even without social media, the breakup of Sound Revolution was getting a lot of airtime, put it that way. And one day I was in my little music room, where Sound Rev's band room used to be. And there was a knock on the door, and when I opened the door, there was this guy called Hugh Lloyd, the promoter. So, I had known him. He had promoted Sound Rev several years. So I greeted him warmly. And he came and he sat and he said, "How you doing?" and so on, and da-da-da-da. And I said, well, he said, "Andre, it must be a rough time." He said, "I brought something for you." I said, "Well, you brought something for me?" He opened a bag, a plastic bag, and in that plastic bag was a black shoulder bag, like a traveling shoulder bag. And the brand name of that shoulder bag was Lucas. And I smiled, and he said to me, "I brought this for you to remind you that you are who you are, with or without Song Revolution. So do not lose heart. Continue to produce music and make people happy." I kept that bag and traveled, this is no joke, everywhere with that bag until it was almost in tatters. And Hugh Lloyd met me again. This is now 7 years later. And I was proud to show him the bag. I said, "Look, I don't go anywhere without this bag." Do you know Hugh Lloyd turned up at my house a couple of weeks later with a replacement Lucas bag. You like wherever you are, brother. Thank you. That meant so much to me psychologically and emotionally. You would not believe.
Okay, now, all right. So before we move on from Dollar Wine, Dollar Wine has become sort of a international kind of novelty hit, right? You wrote that. The idea for that, did that come from the Tommy Joseph joke?
Well, did you listen? The joke predated even Tommy Joseph, you know.
Yeah.
That joke is so old in Trinidad that when it was originally told, it was farthing, tuppence, shilling, pound.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's when Trinidad had British currency still. Would you believe that?
No,
And of
I
course-
never knew that. Let me hear that.
Yeah. It was farthing, tuppence, shilling, pound. And of course, you know, the original storyline is about this guy teaching his new and inexperienced bride, coaching her in certain
Right.
functional
Functional,
prerequisites.
yes.
Matrimonial functional prerequisites, right?
Yes, I understand.
Yes. So of course, which means the joke was horizontal. I didn't think it would be appropriate for me to keep that disposition for the song. So I verticalized. I verticalized it. So I was merely teaching the young lady how to whine in a party, as against any other, perhaps more private environment.
Oh, all right. I hear you.
So this song "Football Dance" that inspired Dollar Wine because that was before, right? Looks like fire, looks like peas. I remember, and it was a dance, a football dance. Everybody was dancing it.
That's right.
So then that would have probably inspired you to go another higher level and do Dollar Wine.
I never tie the two songs together, you know. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't know. I'm asking.
You remember me well, good boy.
He's a DJ, you know.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. That's true.
Well, Shake It. Remember, Shake It was also a very big song that we used to play a lot.
1987.
Yeah, boy. You know, I have a joke about that song. David Rudder told me that they went to the Gladstonebury Festival or Charlie's Roots or something, singing for the English people, and they do that song. Put your hand in the air and shake it. And they say the British people took it literal. They put their hand in the air and they did like this. They put their hand in the air and shake it.
Well, I don't know if you remember when Caldero was the voice on that.
Right.
on the
Yeah,
track,
yeah.
right? And when we did it as Song Revolution in public and so on, we used to, at some point in the song, I would come out front with Caldero and we would go through those instructions, right? And he said, put your hand in the air, right? Then we say, okay, put your hand in the air and shake it. And everybody would do this. And we say, no, we never say shake your hand. We say shake it. And then we turn around and shake it for them. And that
God, well, if
always brought them
Trinis
along.
do that, I can't vex with the British. If you say Trinis do that, I can't vex with the British at all.
Imagine that.
I take it back. So what other big hits you had at that time?
Stay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me something. Did you ever expect those songs to cross over to a bigger market or anything? Was that ever your focus?
In the case of Stay, that was I had, that this could be an international song. I expected Shake It to be a little more culture locked because of the structure and what it was, instructional, Trinidad soca party kind of thing. But Stay, when I did Stay, I did it with the understanding of the potential. And I don't know if you remember, but Eric Gale, who's a
Guitar player.
US jazz guitar player, he actually did Stay as the title track on his 1989 album, I think.
Okay,
Except
cool.
on his album, it's called Let's Stay Together.
All right, okay. I never knew that. I had to go back and check that now.
I can WhatsApp the track to you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
WhatsApp. And
Right.
by the way, there's a new version I have of Stay. Now, funny, I did an album about 10 years ago, guys. It's an album project.
Mm-hmm.
And then just so I decided not to release it. Yeah, would you believe? An entire album. I'm talking about artwork, everything complete, CD, everything completed, you know.
So why you decide not to release it?
I just got a little despondent and a little disheartened and demotivated with several aspects of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, something, Colin, don't even bother. And I just did nothing. Now, the project started as best of Colin Lucas, right? So the whole idea was just to take the best of my songs and put them on one album. But as I pulled the songs and started listening to them, almost without fail, I started hearing how to play them and deliver them differently. So I would go in the studio and totally re-record the song. And this went on for a while. And it's about 14 tracks. And in the process, while doing that, I started to write a couple new songs. So the project has a few redone songs, like Stay, like a song called What's in It For Me, which is a reggae, a song called It Just Ain't Right, which is another reggae.
Play the music.
But it also has some new material, and it also has a few songs in their original way, because when I tried to redo them, I couldn't come up with anything that improved what, in my mind, what was there, and also in the co-producers' minds. So that like Pan's mind is exactly how it was in its original form. Do the Iowa Butterfly Shadow Wave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
In its original form.
Big song, boy. I was in the Midem in 1997, and there was a European guy that came up and asked me, say you're from Trinidad, and he says, the song sent 5 cents, 10 cents, dollar and thing. Do you know the person who did that song? And I said, yeah, Colin. I said, he's a friend of mine. So they said, can you put him in touch with me? I think I called you. And he wanted to publish the song or something. Cause he said he was the guy who did novelty songs was his thing. He said he took the song Alice. 24 years I've been living next door to Alice, and he put Alice. Who the fuck is Alice? He's the kind of guy. You remember that version? He's the guy that did, yeah. And he wanted dollar wine. I think I put him. I think we gave him your number or something, and he ended up.
I did sign a publishing agreement.
All right. Did he ever put it out or anything?
No. A strange thing happened. So, and there's some speculation, so I wouldn't say the speculations. I'll just say what happened and so on, right? Mm-hmm. So we started this agreement and so on, and he flew me up to Germany, and we did a different version of dollar, right? Mm-hmm. Very soon after I came back, he called me and he said, Colin, I thought you said that nobody else had the publishing.
Oh, God.
And I said, no, nobody has a publisher. I never signed a publishing agreement with anybody else. I wouldn't do that. Why? He said, well, when he went to register the publishing in Germany, he found that there was already a publishing application under the name Sony. I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, it's there under Sony. Sony has applied for the publishing, to register the publishing of the song. And I said unequivocally, no, I have signed no agreement with Sony. So he said, okay, leave it up to me. This clearly has to go legal. And a couple of months later, I asked him, I said, so what's the situation with that now? He said, oh, they withdrew the application. I said, and? He said, nothing, they withdrew the application.
Okay.
I say no more.
Oh, did he withdraw his application as well?
No, he kept that publishing contract went for 10 years. Nothing ever
came out. Okay. All right.
So he never released it.
Other things may have come of it, but
Now,
nothing ever.
all right. Now, what I found is that anytime something is like about to happen with any Trinidad song, somehow people all come out of the woodwork and say that I have this or this is thing, and the people who want it tend to back off. Right? You ever notice that happening?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's quite amazing. I mean, I could tell you some stories about me and Dollar Wine and some international things. In fact, right now I'm fighting some international things. It's amazing. There's no shortage of thieves and conmen out there. No shortage.
All right. Well, let me ask a question. Is that because we do things too much on a handshake?
I think in the early days I would have said so. But I think now it is because a lot of the innards of the music industry, there are a lot of informal relationships that exist
Right.
between different music giants out there. And they can cause certain things to happen and cause certain things not
to happen.
to happen once it suits their purpose. You know, at one point in time, Dollar Wine was at the brink of a BBC One must play list. I forgot what they are, like power rotation, what we call power rotation.
Right.
In
Yeah.
Trinidad. Right. It was on the brink of that. And in fact, I got a call just before the announcement was to be made, a congratulatory call from London, because the person was involved in the so and so and so and so and so. But the next day when the announcement was made, a different song was called. And that was like a shocker to everybody that was involved in the process. And the person called me back and apologized profusely. And I said, no, listen, you don't have to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. But he felt badly that he had given me the heads up and things did not turn out. And he made it his business to try to find out what was the thing. And it took him a few years. I'm kid you not. Because it actually bugged him more than it bugged me. Right? You know the guy actually, Martin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We already interviewed him for this same show.
Well, he chased that story down for years until he found the truth. And he shared it with me. I can't share it.
Right, yeah. And that sounds so much like another story I heard from England. About who was supposed to get a song and it was supposed to go to this company and then this other one moved before and, always these kind of bacchanal, So, all right. So you never saw it fit to leave the corporate world to go into music full time. You never saw that.
No, and I'll tell you why. I always had this fear that the day that I felt I was compelled to create music to make a living, that my motivation would move from passion to economics.
Oh, okay.
And I really did. I was fearful of that happening, because what happens sometimes with that is that if you're motivated by making the money, if you can drop or reduce your creativity or your pursuit of excellence and still make money, as much money, or as we have seen very often in the real world, even more money. In other words, you start to write less and less compelling songs of less and less quality, but you make money because your image and your brand and everything carrying you and so on. I was really afraid that I might start doing that, and that bothered me tremendously. So I said, Colin, leave it as your passion, leave it as your hobby, and go with that. Do it for enjoyment. I mean, if you make money, great, and so on. But
All right,
it may
but
have been a tactical error, but that's how I thought it through.
all right, but the spillover, the being that sort of corporate manager, did that help with the music at all?
I think in many regards, and people might find this a strange comment, but if you listen to my songs, I think most of my songs are written more from logic than from talent. There's a story thread that is followed, and the story is packaged in a way that like chapters in a book, or financial statements that are presented in a particular way to show a story, to lead you to certain conclusions and stuff.
That is not just good songwriting.
Well, some people, I think the better ones among us are inspired, and even though some stuff is happening in the back, they get this inspiration and they could put out a song or put out songs, and those songs might fulfill everything I'm talking about. But for me, I had to specifically say, okay, this is what you are doing, and you must not step away from doing this. I had to compel myself. I had to think it through and slug it through. So that's why I think it comes more from an effort to be logical and rational rather than what people call talent.
Okay, all right, but okay, and there's a school of thought that although we had a lot of talented people and we do all these things, that there was never like a serious corporate figure, like a Chris Blackwell, or a hardcore business person in the thing, right? Do you think we suffered from that?
Yeah, I think because, and I don't want to ignore or to decry efforts on people like the Gary Dawes and the Cliff Harrises and so on, who applied business thinking and so on. I mean, think of the chandeliers and the fireflights and so on and so on. But the kind of the Chris Blackwell kind of person you're talking about, we never had someone strong enough. Now, we had people with the foresight and with the vision, but we never had the connection of the vision and the financial means to make it happen.
Oh,
That was the thing. Those things never co-resided.
I remember an old American guy told me when I was in school in New York. He said to me once that ideas without finance is bullshit. So, why you think we never got the corporate people on board and really got that backing?
We're a funny country, We take talent for granted in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think it's because there's a plethora of talent in this place. I think we have the highest ratio of musicians or entertainers or creatives to population, the highest ratio than anywhere in the world, right? I mean, if you just take, I've made this point before, if you just count panists, people who play pan, and put that as a fraction of the population, you already have a higher percentage than anywhere else. And you haven't added in guitar players, pianists, flautists, violinists, trombonists, trumpeters, and all the singers, guitar players, all the rest of it. You haven't even added them in yet. Just counting pan people, and you have a higher percentage of musicians than anywhere else. And that's a good and there's a bad. The bad is that we take it for granted. Therefore, our culture historically has not been about really taking those things and focusing them and getting the best out of them. It's never been about that. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
Oh Lord, so you kind of freeze on me there, but we still getting the song. So
You're getting the
again the sound, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
I have a question, one question.
all right. Mario, I have a question. Go through.
Well, seeing in the corporate world, seeing that you're a musician, what concerns me at present is the amount of artists not being able to get work with these lockdowns. What you think about that, or what you feel that could be done? Because we have interviewed a couple of artists and they are concerned that they're not making any money. There are lots of earnings, and what you think could be done? Anything you think that could be done at this time?
one of the things, that the government has done, for instance, is establishing a priority vaccination drive for the members of the creative industries. This will allow them to start back doing what they do in terms of getting together to create music and other forms of art and so on. They are suffering much like many other sectors of the society and the economy. Historically, when economies have floundered, it is the creative sectors that have resonated and got back on their feet, or that have carried a lot of the weight. This pandemic has presented us with a different problem where everybody, not even the creators, have a chance to lighten the load, as it were, of the society. And it is a first. I mean, if you think about the Great Depression of the 40s in America, the music industry, the entertainment industry soared.
Yeah, Disney came out of the Great Depression.
You understand?
Yeah.
And it's still as a catalyst for regrowth of the other sectors of the economy. Here now, we do not have the opportunity to do that because of this. But like I said, that initiative by the government in fast-tracking vaccinations for creatives, that, I hope will have some kind of impact.
All right. And okay. Now, recently, in the Olympics, Trinidad didn't do as good as we hoped that we would do. And I remember people were giving their opinions, and I made the comment. I said that until Trinidad sees sports and entertainment as other than just pure recreation, then I think we wouldn't go further.
No, you're quite right. I mean, and one can say it's difficult in small post-colonial countries to really to lend gravitas to that thought, because most of us are beneficiaries of colonial education. We tend to process things in particular ways, So my mother, for instance, taught music in her spare time. She was a housewife, but she taught music. She was really good at piano, and she taught piano on evenings at home. And as much as she was a supporter of Sound Revolution, there was no way that my mother would have countenanced me being a professional musician. Especially of the non-classical ilk.
Yeah, well, I too was told, well, all you want to be, the only thing you want to be in life is a DJ. I was told that. I once heard an elder person say too that when Andre Tanka passed, a man turned and say, Andre never do a day work in his life.
Yeah, check that out.
You understand?
Check that out.
So yeah, but I can't get them. That is what they knew. That is what they.
Yes, exactly.
That's what, as you say, right? They're coming from that post-colonial kind of thing, right? So now being a manager, what you were, let's say you were running. Let's say you were not in the music business. Do you see yourself as someone that would have spent your money behind the industry?
That's a good question. And but let me tell you, in the context of Sound Revolution, for instance, we invested in ourselves, in terms of making sure that we had, state-of-the-art equipment and so on, making sure that we go to the studio and record and so on. So we understood the need for investing in yourself at worst.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe it would not have been too much of a long shot for me to have thought of being an independent investor if I were not involved in music as a creator. It's not too much of a long shot.
All right. Okay, Mario, you wanna ask him about
okay. So, what about the music at present? You think we heading in the right direction with the music that you're hearing?
I have two major grosses. Now there's some really good music out there and so on, and you can't knock that. But generally, I have two grosses. One is that over the last few years, we've been tending to write songs with no storyline, just 4 or 6 hook lines, right? And you just repeat these hook lines over and 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 over, and you get my point. And in the heat of the party, in the heat of the fete and the rhythm and everything and the alcohol, okay, that could do well, But we haven't been, to a great extent, we haven't been creating music that people remember, that people want to take home and listen to again home. If you're not in the moment and you're not in that craziness, the music will have no value for you. That's one of the problems I have. And you can't create international hits on just rhythm alone. You have to have something in the music that the people will hold on to and want to get back to and listen to again. Not just when they're inebriated, not just when they're in the throes of a party crowd. My second grouse is, and I'll ask a question, why would somebody who claims to be a Trinidadian performing what he claims to be a Trinidadian musical art form, soca, why would he find it necessary to speak and sing with a Jamaican accent? What's that about?
Well,
a soca singer will jump on a stage and say, crowd of people. I never see so much people in a one place yet. I want to put hand in the ear. And then proceed to sing some Jamaican lyrics on a rhythm and say he's singing soca. And there's a Trinidadian.
Well, it's a globalized world, I suppose.
Sorry?
It's a globalized world.
Yeah, but funny, nobody else, no other country sings its music form with somebody else's accent. We are unique.
No, that's not particularly true, A lot of
Tell me where.
A lot of English and other even European artists try to sound American when they're doing like R&B or
Exactly, but you're missing the point. No country sings its indigenous music.
Oh, okay.
With somebody.
All right. So if you're doing reggae, it's all right to song Jamaican.
Exactly.
So listen, have you ever listened to Zessa music?
Listen to?
Zessa music.
Zessa music? No.
Why I'm asking you all that is because there seems to be a big trend among the youths And when I speak about youth, I talk about people in their 20s. That is what they like, Zessa music. They go in for Zessa music even more than they go in for soca music. And it seems to be, and you know, music, you know, well, you all were, the name, Sound Rev, you all were revolutionary at the time you started from the whole soca
Like to
industry.
think so.
And the music you all did as youths revolutionized the whole thing. So now youths are doing music, of course, and I just have to respect them. I don't have to like the music, because I ain't that from that era. But they're doing a whole revolutionize of music now, where they're doing Zessa thing now, and gunman and badman lyrics. Now, don't expect us to like it, but it seems to be very popular among the younger population. And like everything else, and when we look at the whole music industry, things that start off with you don't like it, and then it is developing to a big thing, as the next big thing. Just like how you all came on an era and develop as the next big thing, this is a possibility. So we can't really ignore what is being done. We don't have to like it, but it seems where the music could be heading, that's just a thing. You're not familiar with it at all. You may have heard a couple of it, and you really find but it's a kind of rubber talk music, and that rubber talk where the guy talking and, you know, where he talking more. Robin, you're familiar with it, right?
Well, I hear it a couple times and thing, you know.
And I'm
But
sure your son is play that.
well, yeah, my son would play it, but and but it getting a lot of plays on YouTube, you know, as Martin Raymond was saying that that is the biggest form of music out of Trinidad. Now it had thousands and thousands and thousands of views on YouTube and that kind of thing, you know. Although two are the biggest artists in it passed away very young. You know, it's crazy. But I don't know. I wish them well. You know, I just wish they would find better topics to sing on. You know, I mean,
Well, it will start a certain way, and then it is develop into something where it's more acceptable. You know.
okay.
So you look at the history of the music over the years. Calypso was like that. Soca was like that. Everything is starting a revolution kind of way, and then it come mainstream. But it's have to, you know, simmer down somehow.
Well, as we reach there, Colin, let me ask you this, right? The reason why soca hasn't, well, Trinidad music on a whole hasn't made it per se, right? And go to number one on the Billboard charts and all them foolishness like we just talk about. Is it something you think inherent in the production of the music, like you know, the engineering, the arrangement, you know, the production of the music, or is it more something to do with marketing and promotion?
I think if I had to choose one, I would choose marketing and promotion. And on the back of that, you see, if you don't believe in your own thing, how can you possibly convince somebody else to believe in it? Right? When you talk to a Jamaican, within the first sentence, you know he's a Jamaican. By the second sentence, you know Bob Marley come from Jamaica. By the third sentence, you know dancehall and thing and reggae come from Jamaica. You could talk to a Trinidadian for days and not know where he come from, what forms of music comes from Trinidad and Tobago. We really, we talk among ourselves and say, yeah, man, we believe in soca and soca thing and thing. If we believed in it so much, how come we just change it at women fancy, just like that? How come we just change our accent to singing somebody else's accent just like that? You see, I ask people a simple question.
Probably that's the Kaiso in it.
Well, I will call you. So I'm calling you, right, Robin? Yeah, man, BMW is the best car in the world. I'm a BMW salesman, and I'm trying to get you to buy BMW and so on. For months. And then I say, you know something? Come, let me pick you up and let me go and test drive a BMW, brother. Right? And you agree to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I come to pick you up, to carry you to test drive a BMW, but I drive in a Benz. Where's my credibility?
Well, yeah,
as
okay.
simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
I come in a Benz to carry you to drive a BMW. I tell you, BMW is the best car, boy. You can't, well, that's the car to have by driving a Benz. So when I telling you that Trinidad culture is so strong, boy, we have all kind of thing to offer. And soca is the best thing. And as I put on a soca, there's a dance hall, a loop, a dance hall loop. That is the bed of that soca. And on top of that, I'm singing with a Jamaican accent. I lose credibility one time. When I could sing, and no disrespect, General Grant is my partner. General Grant used to be on Sound Rev stage chanting reggae and thing. Because we, as you know, Sound Rev used to play reggae.
Yeah.
Thing,
What was the name of the band again? Free. Free, right? That was the name of the band?
Which one?
Yeah. Well, they had a reggae band named Free, man. Used to play with Jolly, and them used to play in the band, right?
Yeah.
You wrote some Song Revolution.
Yep.
Right, and in the scheme down by Nairan after Carnival, they used to play there a lot.
Ooh, hey, your memory real.
Yeah.
They used to have 12 Tribes band too.
Right, and you used
Had one.
Right, and you used to play guitar in that one, and you used to play keyboard and Song Rev, right? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Of course, man. Right.
Next thing, anyway, let me not go there. So, what's the point I was making? Sorry.
Right, if you come to pick me up, you're trying to sell me a BMW, but you're coming a Benz.
I drive in a Benz. I lose credibility. I have none. So we need to start believing ourselves and not just talking the talk. We have to walk the walk. I was making a point about General Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I love him dearly. But you remember the song? May I go take soca music straight to the Billboard chart?
Yeah.
You're going to take soca music straight to the Billboard charts, but you're singing dancehall to say that?
Yeah, and it was a remake song. It's a song he took from another reggae thing. But, the record company he was with at the time, I don't want to be too controversial, but somehow they believed that to have a hit, you just have to ape something else, and I used to be quarreling with them about that all the time, I mean? Although they did develop the kind of rap so thing too, right? But basically that was on a kind of a back burner, I mean? The Billboard chart thing was the thing that they heavily push, what I mean? But as you say, we had to learn to believe in it more. That is my, right? My personal thing, as I say, is that I just believe we have to make good music for us, for ourselves, and then people will like it. Once it's good, just make good music. That's my position, right? But who is me,
But that's the Jamaican position too. The Jamaican will do thing and sing with his thing, even though people say, but I can't understand what he's saying. He said, boy, if you don't understand it, go in. Because I'm not change my accent for you. I sing just so, but may have the accent. And people fight and learn to understand it. Check that out.
But you know what it is too? I remember some years ago with my friend, God rest his soul, Jerome Francique, song engineer and trombone player. And
very well.
Right, and we were in Amar's studio at the time, Caribbean Song Basin, and they were having an audition there. That was a Saturday morning, I think. We were doing something in the studio and we came outside. And Jerome, who worked in Federal and in Dynamic in Jamaica, when we see all these youths wearing all these kind of brand name shoes and jewelry and all them things, Jerome say, this is our audition. Jerome say when you have an audition in Jamaica by Dynamic or Federal, he say you just see men come in rags, literally people in rags, and he say you just hear the cry in the voice, when they're singing in the studio, I mean? So, maybe is that the passion, maybe we we have it too easy or something. I know the oil. Maybe it's the oil. We're
not suffering enough.
You think that we are suffering, right? So you think the oil, money and stuff made it that less of a priority to have a music business that's thriving and thing than
Of course.
because of the energy
And
sector.
even though several administrations have spoken about diversification, we hear what they say, but when it comes time now for the brass tacks, everything doesn't quite work out. It doesn't mirror that philosophy. So much can be done with our music. So much. There's a world out there that we could take and really manhandle musically in. Because we got talent here by the grab. What?
So Mario, you still think we had to remix the music and all that?
What about the remixing of the music? I mean, a lot of the music, I mean, even like football dance, for instance, that went on a reggae type of pattern. A lot of people start to make songs using a sort of reggae beat or a hip hop beat when they could have follow like what the English doing and go a more dance beat. And maybe soca might have gone into more regions than try to go down the reggae and the hip hop beat. You know, what do you think about that? The remixing?
Well,
if we had gone down a more club dance beat with the soca rather than try to take it more reggae. I don't like what's going on now, for instance.
Now, I mean, one of the things that would facilitate that kind of grafting is dup, 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 that kick. That gives you a lot of dance flexibility. I know it is interesting here, just as a sidebar. When we went from dup, 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 which is standard calypso from long time, right? Gina and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina, dup, 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 dup. At some point we said that's too difficult for white people to dance. So that kind of pushed us more towards the straight quarter note, dup, 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 dup.
Four on the floor.
Soca, yeah. And the joke is, the Jamaicans then took that dup, 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 and made it dance all. They went dup, 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 tack, dup, dup, tack. Same three beats, that we thought white people couldn't dance to. And the Jamaicans have them dancing to that beat all over the world.
As they said, they couldn't tell where the one was.
That was the argument.
Right.
They tell them where the one was, where the one is in dancehall, though.
Yeah.
Same three beats.
Interestingly,
Instead of three kicks, it's two kicks and a snare.
The album that you was working on that you never released, did you do any songs in a sort of jazz flavor, for instance?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
The album that you didn't release, right? Did you do any of your songs in a sort of a jazzy type of flavor?
In terms of chord usage, like
some of the old material, did you do it over in a sort of a jazzy flavor? I think there's room for, because it's a different era, different type of music, and people would have wanted to hear a different tone of song, but so I was just asking if you did anything like that on the album.
Well, I wouldn't quite use the word jazz. Like, for instance, two of the songs are kind of R&B-ish. So the chord usage there is kind of, I consider, interesting. One in particular, Just This Once, which the original was on the 1986 Song Revolution album. And it's redone. Roger George did the lead vocals on it. It's interesting listening. I wouldn't expect, if I do release the album, I wouldn't expect it to be. It has a definite old school-ish approach, and that was deliberate. So more like people who just want to get into some music. They want to hear some music, might be attracted to that, as against 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds who, their tastes are a little different.
Well, I just call it lounge music, music you could put on and just listen to and appreciate. Lounge type of music, you sit down and you're probably having a drink and you're enjoying the music, and, that's what I look at it as, that. So I was looking to see if the album heading in that direction or it's still headed in a soca direction or whatnot. I feel there's room for you to release an album using some of this old Sound Rev music and even some of your modern songs in a more listening feel that a person could put on and appreciate. That's what I feel. There's a market for that for you at this time.
Absolutely. Well, there's a market for that because, as I was saying earlier, very few people will take very few of current soca and play it in the office, while they're working, just because it's not listen to music. Just drink and wine and carry on. And I'm not saying that's all that there's there, but a large percentage of what is out there is not what you will say you will put aside time to go listen to. You'll react it if you're going live, you're partying, but you won't be listening to it.
Well, is it that...
So you're right.
Is it that what I say we do, our music industry, the soca industry, is we are servicing the carnivals of the world, right? And but do you think that we could make other musics, that all right, for instance, groovy soca. What do you think of the potential of that? Because we used to complain that the melody is gone, but some of these kind of new groovy soca have like nice melodies,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I was wondering if that is a way to go. If we could start, and it don't take nothing in Trinidad for something to change. All it takes is success. All you need is one good song going down a certain kind of way, and then the next year, you had 10 of that, right? So, I don't know. What do you think?
What you reward. A society gets what it rewards. That's the fact of life. I mean, and you talk about groovy soca, and as you know, groovy soca happening long time, I mean, Stay is a good example, but an even better example. Remember Carl and Carol, from now on,
Right, yeah.
baby, from now on. I mean, you could take that song now and put it in the middle of an American playlist and say, yes, but call it something else. Don't tell them it's R&B or something. Call it something else. Caribbean groove.
Yeah, maybe it's time too, because I'm seeing a lot of the artists now embracing the Caribbeanness, or the where long ago people used to be playing that there's so American. Everybody now is so glad to say that I'm from Trinidad, and and that kind of thing,
She's from Trinidad.
Yeah, she's from Trinidad, I see this guy Winston Duke on Stephen Colbert show, talking about Trinidad and Tobago, and when I was growing up, that's when people died. They had the 9 nights and all them kind of thing, I mean? So people, maybe now is the time to take back some of them old songs and do them over, and Morning Loving and Stay and. Huh?
That'd be real interesting.
Yeah.
I really will WhatsApp you those songs. Share them with Mario Femina.
All right, no problem.
WhatsApp them to you. Just send them over to him. You might find a few of them interesting listening.
All right. But how we getting the youths now to record over some of them songs?
Good question. Because, one of the things is we don't have good culture transition and culture coaching and mentoring in Trinidad. Part might be due to lethargy on the part of the seniors like myself, but part is also due to a disposition of, I read all your old fellas really can't tell me nothing. I'm making money, all your time done gone, all you can't really tell me nothing. And that is a very unfortunate thing.
Yep.
Because I don't know an art form in the world that has succeeded where that kind of attitude prevails.
Okay, well, that's a good segue now. We need to end soon. So, right, moving forward, tell me, Colin Lucas, how do we move this music forward? Where do we go from here?
The million-dollar question. One of the things that I find is that we need to really start being sincere about talent and separating it from just mere personal popularity. There are practitioners in our industry who, if you really have to be honest with yourself, some of them can't even sing. They can't sing. They singing flat, sharp, everything.
Okay, but
can't sing.
Yeah,
And
but
some of them touting as our big band. When you tell somebody, hey, this is a top artist in Trinidad, and then the person listens to them and is listening to somebody who cannot sing, that shoots your credibility in the head. They say, that's where them fellas come in.
okay, but I can also tell you that I know people, I know song engineers and stuff who has worked on $1 million records and thing, and a lot of big stars. They tell me can't sing to save their life. That
But they're not presented as that.
A man tell me he, a very big star, he tell me he had to spend 5 hours comping together just a lead vocal, a word here, a line here, I think, because she just couldn't sing, and but it's a machine behind it, right? And
they fixed it.
Yeah, there's a machine to fix marketing, right? I don't think we have that. We ain't tap into that machine yet.
Nah, man, we have that kind of technology here.
No. Not just it's not just the technology.
Not just the technology.
Is right. I mean, yeah, we had the technology, right? But is somebody to take that person who can sing and say, hey, they had the right look, they had the right this, they had the right that. Just you make sure that somehow you have something that could work to go on the record, right? If you had to auto-tune, you had to cut, if you had to this, So what I'm saying, the reason I'm saying that is that talent ain't all it is. A lot of them can sing too,
Yeah.
But the face might be nice, or the thing they could, Now that mightn't be my particular cup of tea, but probably that is what is going on in the world.
Yeah, but where we fall short is we still present it as can't sing. We don't fix that. We good with that. Yeah, man, that cool with that. Yeah, cool.
Right. Mice Martin Raymond was saying that he thinks the problem is just that we don't stay long enough on the songs. Like, if we have 4 hours in the studio, we do it in 4 hours, however it's sung. We don't come back to it. No, and also the Mighty Sparrow the other night in what's the name? Radio City? What hall he was in?
Yeah.
Big hall in the States, right?
Lincoln
Center, right? Yes. And the thing is, the band was no Trinidadians, but they were proficient, and people were saying, well, look, how come they could have? I say, because once you have the budget and you could take the time, right? Like here, if we might only have money for a dress rehearsal night in Queen's Hall, which we ain't getting through. By the time we finish song check and the lighting do one thing, we ain't get chance to song check the band properly, and it has always be that kind of thing, right? Whereas when you see a show like that, it's days of rehearsal, and days of, So I think it's just probably the budgets. I don't know. What do you think?
That certainly impacts, but that's why when you go by Mice and you go by Graham Wilson and you go by Neil Bernard and them, there's no such thing as an hourly rating.
Right, yeah.
Recognize that long time, those guys. And you will never see an hourly rate. They say, look, this project, the budget for this project is so and so and so. Let's do it right.
All right, so we are the people that could do it right. So is
somebody
right.
Guys, but some of the younger people would not want to listen to a Mice You know, they would say, boy, he old, he over 40.
No, but Mice teaching the younger generation now.
Yeah.
Mice and Robin Imamsha and them, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, Robin and thing, lecturing and thing too. But some of the people out there, the proponents, the people going out on the stage and thing, to deliver, to execute, they're not going to be in the classroom to listen to them. Quite often, they're not the beneficiaries. And quite often, they're not even listening to the beneficiaries. Because we tend to have a culture here of mediocrity. That good enough. That good enough. You see that? See that good enough? That will be our death knell. Well, no. We must ensure that it is not our death knell. We have to embrace a culture of excellence.
All right. That's a good place to end. Mario, you have anything else to ask Mr. Lucas?
Yeah, just for the public's sake. Robin,
My father here too?
You're still performing, Colin, right? You're still doing your performances? No?
I stopped. The same time I decided not to release the album was the same time I said, you know something?
So you ain't performed for years then? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Wow. So when you retire from your job, do you plan to get involved in the music in somehow? Helping artists?
Well, you know the joke is that I really was retired already. This NCC thinking is post-retirement.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yeah. Listen, guys, 65, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, both of we catching up with you know. You come first, Mario second, and I third. Gold, silver, and bronze.
But what you feel you could give to the industry on the whole? I mean, like, upcoming artists. I mean,
I didn't hear that.
What you feel you could give to upcoming artists on the whole and advise them accordingly? I mean, as we're about to end, I mean, you did mention it, but just say it over again, some of the things.
Pay attention to the business. Pay attention to the execution. Things that you will get away with in Trinidad, the external markets are a lot more discerning, you know? And especially if you're trying to introduce new music forms, new art forms to them and tell them you want them to love it to the extent where they will buy it in amounts that would make things, make economic sense. You cannot give them suboptimal produce. You cannot do it. You'll get away with that here because, well, you know, all of we Trinidad, we love that and anything. No, you can't give the international market that. They will not accept it, especially from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy.
So excellence in your art form and pay attention to the business.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Colin, boy. It was so nice talking to you. And I don't know, maybe we could talk again in the future when you release the new album.
Whenever you call, I'm right here for you.
All right. Thanks a mil, Colin, boy.
Thanks for calling.
Have a nice night. Enjoy.
You two reach home before the curfew, eh?
Yeah, all right. Mario had to go. All right.
Don't let me have to talk to Gary for you.
Oh, los. So, Mario boy, Colin Lucas. Good show. All right. So, next week, we will bring you another moving forward. All right, Mario. Cool. All right. Have fun.